Welcome to a brand new episode of the post game. I am your host, Davion. I'm joined by Matt,
What up?
Oronde,
Was good.
and welcome to the pod, Stu.
How's it going?
How we doing, y'all?
Doing well. A
Awesome.
little tired.
Yes.
Great.
Shout out all the mothers today. We're filming on Mother's Day, so happy
Yeah.
Mother's Day to everyone.
Shout out to you.
Um,
Except Jaden Daniels' mom.
okay.
All
Helicopter
right,
mom.
so let's table that conversation. So welcome back to the post game. We are back with one of my favorite series of all time, Let's Talk. And today, so if you don't know the Let's Talk series, it's a series that we do here on the post game where we talk about every single team in the NFL. Every single team gets their own video. Every single team, gets talked about in depth a little bit. We're going to talk about their draft, their quarterback changes, their free agents, or whatever their team did in the offseason. We will probably cover it a little bit. But we're going to start this first little chunk of the series with the AFC
South.
South.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're gonna start with the AFC South. So today we're gonna start with the Colts. But before we get going, leave a like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what series or what team you want us to do next, and let us know how you feel about the series. Excited to see the feedback on that. But regardless, we're starting with the Indianapolis Colts. As our residential Colts fan, Stu, I'm gonna let you, get on your horse. I'm gonna let you tell us how you feel about this team.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I'm a diehard Colts fan. Have been for, better part of a decade here. And honestly, the saddest part about our football organization is the most notable thing is still like 7 years ago when Andrew Luck retired. I feel like we're still feeling that. Okay, because we to this very moment have not been able to figure out the QB situation. But I want to talk about we've heard a lot about the QB situation. You can see the free agents and the draft here. It's a typical Chris Ballard draft, kind of just plugging some holes, not super flashy, relatively smart, kind of conservative money wise, but some things work out, they won't work out, whatever. Typical Chris Ballard draft, just kind of doing whatever. I want to talk about the Colts culture real quick, okay? Because thank God for the New York Football Giants and the whole Saquon Barkley and Joe Shane thing. Because if that didn't happen last year, I feel like the Colts would have been and should be like kind of the laughing stock of the league, okay? You have a quarterback who has a 50% completion percentage, taking himself out of games. Dudes are like showing up late to meetings. There's no accountability. You have one of the biggest media personalities, Pat McAfee, okay, like shitting all over them. We have players barking back at Pat McAfee. Like his suite at the end, Pat McAfee has this like big suite at the back of
And it
the
was
at the end zone.
empty.
It was empty like the back half of the season. Like they would score a touchdown and it's just a ghost town in there. I cannot believe, like, obviously people were talking about this, but like I feel like I see the Giants get memed a lot more. Obviously it's because like Saquon goes and wins a Super Bowl, but I'm just like the Colts, I don't know if what your guys' perception of them is, but I think they're kind of a laughing stock right now, and there needs to be, you know, top to bottom firings and just a whole culture change. Jim Irsay needs to maybe, pass along the reins to a younger family member who's not senile. But and the Giants thing, okay, I wanted to just quickly attack Bo for 1 second here, Matt. The Giants thing was obviously nuts because it's very public with Hard Knocks and everything, but I still think it was the right decision because you don't pay the running back or get the running back if the rest of the team sucks. And so that's why I don't understand why the Carolina Panthers have gone running back the last 2 years in the drafts and drafted a guy with an ACL.
Excuse
But
me.
that's we're talking about the Colts right now. So actually I want to get your guys' perception of the Colts as like a lead wide thing. Because as a Colts fan, I'm ashamed, to say the least.
Okay. I'll go. Um, the Colts, to me, they're just there, if that makes sense. They're
Yeah.
just a really mid organization that has bright spots. They always have a good roster, but like you said, they can never figure out the QB. And with Richardson playing maybe 5 games a season, That's not looking good. Now you bring in Daniel Jones. Who knows what the hell's going to happen there? You drafted Riley Leonard. I doubt that's going to change anything or do anything, but it's just like they're just so confusing because it's like they always end up getting like 8 or 9 wins and they still are just like somehow bad, if that makes sense. Like I just don't understand it. So
I kind of well, I kind of think the same. Like the Colts kind of feel like I don't know if this is the right comparison, but kind of like the Steelers. Admit an
That's
annoying
fair.
owner, kind of middling play as a team over a course of a season. They have hot spots and they have a cold streak. QB concerns over the last few years. And the fact that you have probably one of the biggest football fanatics of an owner and he doesn't know what to do with his team right now. I don't know if that's just his fault. Is it the team underperforming all the time? Doesn't help that they've had a lot of injuries too. But
right.
with the fact that the Colts are sitting middle of the pack with $23 million in cap space, they'd have it pretty well distributed amongst the team. But now you've got questions of whether, hey, like Matt said, will Richardson actually play a full season this year? Maybe they'll scheme up some stuff with Leonard and Daniels because they have three running quarterbacks now. They picked up some good free agent signings, of course, and they drafted some good players, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to make them an actual threat in the AFC South.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think when I look at the Colts, like you look at the NFC South, and it's like it's very achievable for any of those teams to win the division. Like I think none of those teams, like if I looked at it last year at the start of the season, I would say, okay, Houston, they're obviously going to win this division. But like Houston had a tough season last year. They had a rough season last year. And so when I look at the Colts, I'm like, they are one of those teams where they're going to be mediocre, get 7, 8 wins. They're going to have the 10th, 15th, 16th pick, and it's just going to be again of the mediocrity. I think it's either they need to go for broke and win 0 games, or they need to actually compete and win 10. And so when they get to that point, when they figure that out, like I think they'll be much better. But I think we've hit on a little bit. I think picking up Daniel Jones, who knows what's going to happen? Maybe he comes in week 4 and takes over for Anthony Richardson if he's stinking it up again. I mean, they go out and get Tre'Davious White or Tre'Davious Ward, like I think that's a really good cornerback signing. I think that works a lot. And then a pick that we talked about in the draft on draft night a lot that I love is Tyler Warren. I think like providing some more help for that, for more some tight end help for your quarterback, your struggling quarterback is always productive. And so I don't know. Like when I look at the Colts, like I don't think they'll be great, obviously. But I think y'all made a valid point. Like it's all about the culture of that team. I mean, we saw this a couple years ago when Jonathan Taylor was holding out as well. They're still dealing with players having an issue, and I think the new head coach, because he was the offensive coordinator from or one of the coordinators from Philly,
Was it
right?
Philly? Shane
Really?
Steichen?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Steichen.
And he's just, I mean, like, I don't think he went into this situation thinking that it would have been more of a culture change. But I don't think when I look at Shane Steichen, I'm like, oh, he's a culture change type guy. Not at all. Like, no, that's not his MO. And so I think they definitely do like go from square one, figure it out, and just build on their team because they're not going to be great this year, and no one knows if they're going to be good next year. But I think we got a lot of quarterbacks coming out next year. If the quarterback situation is the issue, I mean, you got Anthony Richardson who's still on a rookie contract. You have Riley Leonard who they just drafted, and then you have Daniel Jones as well, all on pretty much like 1 year deals or rookie contracts. It's like your quarterback position is still the biggest question mark that you have. And so who knows? Like who knows what's going to happen here?
At
Stu,
least they have a decent wide receiver room.
right. That's the thing.
Yes, yes, yes.
Stu, I'm curious what you think about Richardson. And like be honest.
So you guys are 100% right. And yeah, they're just stuck in that middle there. And like when you finally bottom out and you get the number 3 overall pick and you take Richardson and everyone's excited, you think, okay, this is the right thing to do, bottom out. You get the super high potential guy and hopefully he hits. When he doesn't hit, it sets you back 10, 15 years potentially. And with Richardson, we saw it at Florida, the accuracy issues and the injuries. Unfortunately, through 2 years, that hasn't changed. Specifically with the injuries front, it's just it's one thing after another. He doesn't I'm sorry, he doesn't seem like a tough kid. I just like he doesn't obviously like him coming out of the game because he's
I
tired.
forgot
I
about
look at
that.
Josh Allen and I'm just like that dude could have a broken arm. He's probably like getting up and like playing a couple extra plays, broken rib. He's, still gonna run somebody over. Anthony Richardson, I feel I just have no trust in him as a leader of this football team, regardless of anything else of accuracy issues or decision making issues. I mean, he has more interceptions than passing touchdowns in his career. He's like 13 to like 10 or something right now. Um, so the decision making is not great, the accuracy is not great. There has been nothing good outside of a couple of like insane highlights. Okay, he has a cannon of an arm and he can run people over, but to operate an NFL offense, it just I'm apparently the most pessimistic person here potentially about this because I watched it and I'm just tired of it. But I think I have no hope for Anthony Richardson, whether or not he gets injured or just straight up benched for Daniel Jones. It'll happen at some point during the season, and then depending on kind of if they pay 500 ball with Daniel Jones, he might just finish out the season. Or if, I mean, Daniel Jones has his own injury history, that could happen. Or if the team struggles, we could see some Riley Leonard at the back half of the season. I could see myself just turning on a Colts game, in December or whatever, and I'm just like looking at Riley Leonard, and I'm just like, wow, but we're still going to be like the 12th pick in the draft because we're going to go like have 6, 7, 8 wins. So,
Yeah.
um, a lot of these free agents and draft picks are promising, like you said, but it's hard to get excited about those when the QB situation is such an issue. And I was actually watching your guys's before this. I was watching your guys's like recap on the Vikings, and the Vikings specifically took Will Fries and Ryan Kelly from us.
Right.
The O line's been a bright spot, but those are two bona fide starters. Ryan Kelly is a Pro Bowler. And the replacements we have for those two guys are first and second year guys that haven't had a lot of playing time. We took a fair amount of O line last draft, um, but those guys haven't played. Those guys are question marks. And I mean, that can only make matters worse if the O line suddenly is no longer a strength. Um, like you said, the receiving core is good. Tyler Warren elevates the worst tight end group in the league, I think, from last year. And the wide receivers are good. Obviously, you have Jonathan Taylor. A lot of those cornerbacks, and Cameron Bynum is going to help the secondary. So defense will be okay to decent, kind of middle of the pack. You have some pieces on offense, but again, hard to get excited when it's Anthony Richardson, the quarterback.
I
Yeah,
was
I
I
mean,
was sorry.
no, go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say, like with Daniel Jones, I don't get the whole hype around him. Like this is just gonna sound so mean, but I don't know how he's still in the league. Like the Giants held on to him for 5 years, and you got one playoff game out of him, and that's it. And most of his highlights are bad, like more worse than good. So it's like, yeah, like the Colts are just so confusing. And who's their GM again? What's his name? Chris.
Chris Ballard.
Ballard,
Chris
he's been there
Ballard.
since 2017.
Dude, that
Chris
dude,
Ballard
like,
is
he's so boring. Like, it's like the Colts are just too conservative, like you said, and they don't try to be aggressive and
You
push
know,
for that best player or go for that best guy, and they just try to win out the division when they know they can't, and it's just a crumble. It's just starting to crumble, and it's just going to become worse and worse if they don't figure this out sooner
I
than
think
later.
The Madden generative GMs would probably pick better than the Colts have in the last
Maybe,
few years.
but it's like the Colts don't. It's always QB. They pick everything else right. Like they they do
Yeah.
pretty well in the drafts. Like I already know if they have a capable QB, Tyler Warren's going to be insane. Like he's
yeah.
going to be. I don't think it'll be like Brock Bowers level insane, but
I
he
think
will be.
so.
No way. I don't think that, but like
I
he will
think
be
if anyone will
a
be like
top
Brock
tight end.
Bowers, that's Colston Loveland. He's more of a receiving tight end
Fair.
like Brock,
Yeah.
like
Fair.
Bowers.
Or Stu, are they more obviously they're just a run heavy team. Do you just think they should just go after obviously you have Jonathan Taylor. Do you think they should like double dip at running back and get like another superstar and just have two really good running backs and just take the edge off of Richardson and Daniel
I
Jones from
mean,
running to their, running their careers into the ground.
what I would like to see is I would say that Anthony Richardson is also just, another running back, and we could see a lot more like Jalen Hurts type stuff with Sheikin, how he used to use him in Philadelphia. The issue is that um, Anthony Richardson can't stay healthy. Like they literally don't. They have this massive quarterback. They don't run like a tush push equivalent in Indianapolis because they're worried about Anthony Richardson's health, and it's really disappointing that you just don't get to use his attributes because he's just made of glass.
I mean,
Um, yeah, go
Mm.
ahead, go
I
ahead.
mean, you just said it though. Like you said it early on, and like you now have three quarterbacks who can do that job, the same job. They're pretty
But
much
it's like,
identical. And
but like, what's
so,
the point at
yeah, I
that?
mean, I think go out there, run their asses in the
I
dirt,
wonder if
figure it
they
out.
can adapt to a more play action heavy
I was thinking that
scheme,
too. Yep.
especially with Khalil Herbert, because he's more of a bruising back than John Taylor's ability to run away from you. And then you have Tyler Warren, you have Mo Ali Cox too, two tight end sets with that. Also, not to exclude Drew Ogletree. It's a big
Yeah.
dude, not the fastest, but very large. They need to really adapt and have more explosive play abilities out of that offense because you have the receiving core, just haven't done anything with it. Not that you
Right.
can do anything with it if your QB is already always hurt and it can't throw the ball.
And like another thing too is like going back to the running back thing, I think what could help their QB situation, like a lot of teams nowadays are having two really good running backs. So like I'm gonna piggy off the Panthers. They have Chuba Hubbard who has that great 1,000 yard season. Then they signed Rico Dowdle to a 1 year deal who also had 1,000 yards. Like those two alone could easily change that run offense just in general. So like Jonathan Taylor's great. I think he's incredible. But Khalil Herbert as his backup, I don't know if that's like eye popping. If they got another receiving back that's, I don't know, more productive, I think that could help them. But um, it's just not looking good. Just-
I want a running back that doesn't drop the ball on the 1 yard line. But
oh my
Oh,
God, I forgot about that.
Mm,
talk
I'm
about a
so
laughing
sorry.
stock. My God.
anyway,
Uh,
as
I wanted to say one more thing. I
yeah,
wanted to go through their schedule with you all for next season,
enlighten
and
me.
we can predict wins and losses. So obviously, the full schedule hasn't been released, but we have the teams itself that they'll play. So obviously, they'll play against the division. Um, so we'll just start there. Houston twice. Do we think they split? Do we think they win out? Do they lose out? What's the consensus
here's
here?
the thing. I just don't. I think it's here's the issue. I think it's about what the team like. What's our team goal this season? Like, is our team goal we're gonna be bad and we are just gonna sit here and like go draft first next year, or is our team goal we're gonna actually compete for in the side of this division? Like that's the problem. Is that like it's so or they don't. I don't know if they know what they want to do yet. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree.
And so
But
I don't know. Like I could sit here and say split for all these division games, but it's like if we're trying to lose out and like we don't want to really make the playoffs, it's like what are we gonna do?
It's a scenario where like you of course start the season. You're like, oh, we have all these additions, and Anthony Richardson's still young, and he's going to improve, and we have to give people time, whatever. Like Chris Ballard, I watched an interview. He's talking about how like all these quarterbacks are having success on like second and third teams, and he's like, we as like a
that's so
media driven
dumb.
generation like need to be more patient with quarterbacks. And so he's like preaching patience with Anthony Richardson because he is still only like 23 years old, but mm,
I'm
mm.
not gonna lie to you. I was on like I like going into last season. I was like on the that entire kick. Like be patient with him. Like he's gonna figure it out. But it's just like it's not great. Like what
I
he's
think
on
they,
paper
I
isn't
think they
great.
rushed him in too
Yeah.
quickly. Obviously, he's the third pick of the draft, but like he was such a raw prospect coming out of college,
Hmm.
and we've seen that. And like, there's nothing wrong with benching your starting QB. We've seen it so many times throughout the league, and it's started to work out with Drake May is another example where he had a really good rookie season. Bryce Young having like one of the craziest resurgence ever. Um, just things like that in general. But like with Richardson, it's just like you're just throwing him out to the wolves. And luckily, he hasn't had to face like tons of like coaching changes and stuff,
Yeah.
which helps. But again, if you're not performing well, what's the point? Is this going to be his last season with the Colts? Or, you know, does he hopefully have a reinsurgence and he actually plays well or plays more than 5 games? So,
He's playing for his job this year, and
oh, for sure.
if this year is like it was last year, they're gonna move on from him.
Yeah.
I think so.
I think so too.
Damn, poor guy.
But
Okay.
speaking of the schedule, I mean, you just told me before we start recording, it's brutal, which makes me think that a team that maybe plays 500 ball with a normal schedule, it could go south really fast with this schedule they got. So
Yeah. Okay. So obviously, I'll just go through them real quick. So obviously, they have all the division games. Let's just not predict that. We'll say the first one. So they play the Denver Broncos in
Loss.
Indianapolis. That's a loss, we think.
Yeah.
loss.
Yeah.
Okay. Then they play the Raiders in Indianapolis.
Toss up.
Winnable.
Winnable.
Yeah. We'll give it a
Okay.
win. Why
We'll
not?
give it a win. Okay. Arizona.
Win.
That's tough.
That's
They're
another
very-
toss-up.
That's another
So-
toss-up because they're really similar teams right now.
Who's better, the Raiders or the Chargers?
The Raiders or the Chargers? The Chargers by far.
Not Chargers. Raiders
Oh,
are
the Cardinals?
Cardinals.
Because
Cardinals.
they have a quarterback. Kyler's good. It's just the whole team
Well,
around him is not.
It matters what time of the year we're playing the
Fair.
Cardinals.
That is also
Is
very
it pre or
because-
post COD releases?
We'll find
early
out.
in the season he's good, and then he just
Yeah.
Okay, next we have the Niners. Honestly,
Could
I'm
be
not a
bad.
big fan of the Niners this year. I think they're going to be pretty bad again. So
Uh-oh.
I could give it to the Colts on this one.
I agree.
Well, did we give the win against the Cardinals? Because it should be 2-1 in those three. We'll give it 2-1 in those
Yeah.
last three.
We'll give it that.
So they're 2-2 right now.
Okay. 2-2.
Yeah, too.
Okay. So then they play Miami.
They always beat Miami.
Yeah, they beat Miami.
They tend to beat Miami for whatever reason. Okay, so
Hopefully-
they're 3-2. Okay, fine.
3-2.
fine.
Then they play Atlanta, who
That's an L.
that's a
Yeah.
loss. Yeah, that's a loss.
Yeah.
Kansas City in Arrowhead, that's a loss.
L.
They might degress too, but they'll still
3 and
have the
4.
refs on their side.
Hey,
The LA Chargers,
loss.
L.
that's a loss too. That might be, yeah, that's probably another loss. Then they play the Rams. But they play in SoFi twice this year. That's awesome. Stu, you should go. There you
Honestly, I'm in LA, so yeah.
go. That's probably another loss. I think the Rams are gonna be really good this
Yeah.
year again. So
Yeah, Devontae Adams, yeah.
Devontae
Yeah.
Adams, their defense is insanely young. I mean, what can go wrong?
I don't know about really.
Pittsburgh would be their next one.
I mean, let's
They
can
assume
beat Pittsburgh.
Rodgers is there.
We'll assume
Stop
Rodgers
it.
is there.
If Rodgers is there, they lose.
Rodgers is going to be there.
I
There's
don't
no
want
way.
him to be. I don't want him to be a Steeler.
I don't think anyone wants him to be a Steeler.
I don't think
he's
he will
washed.
either, man. I don't.
If it was last year, I'd be more speaking higher of him. But now,
He's awful.
I have to take off the Rodgers blindness glasses.
He's horrible.
His brother is washed.
He's
He pissed me
horrible.
off. That brother is washed.
He's horrible.
Okay, and then the
All right,
final
we'll give
game
So
that's
they're
not
what, 4 and 6? Okay.
4 and 6, and then the last non-divisional game would be against the Seahawks.
Lose.
Lost.
They'll lose that.
Yeah,
see.
so 4 and 7 out of division, and then they probably
And then
go
the
around
division-
500 in division.
Yeah, so they'll
So,
probably split with
yeah.
Houston. I think it depends if it's week 17 Jacksonville, it's a guaranteed loss.
Yeah,
Tennessee, who knows? They're
they're gonna struggle.
gonna
they're
struggle,
gonna-
but
yeah.
it's just a full reset in Tennessee,
I think Tennessee will turn into a shootout team.
I agree.
probably.
Yeah,
But like
I mean, they
Miami
were-
out there.
Become Cam Ward style of putting up 30
They-
points a
they
game, but the
were last
defense
year.
also giving up 25 points a game.
Thank you, Will Levis.
The
Um,
meme
yeah.
goat.
So We're predicting a below 500
Sounds
is
about
what
right.
it sounds like. So, is that what you're hoping, Stu, at this point, or
I
what?
mean, I would like them to bottom out.
Like
Um,
how bad? Like,
Like 3 wins.
do you want them to be the
like
worst team in
a
the league?
Hey,
like an
easy.
Arch
But
Manning,
hey,
Arch Manning
hey, easy,
level bad.
easy. We show that we want that worst team in the league title.
The
Thank you.
We have the legacy, the Manning legacy. Oh,
We do
uh,
too.
That's right. The Saints did draft their dad. Forgot
okay,
about that. No.
that's fair, I guess.
All right. Anything else?
Hey, that's it. I think that's it.
That's good.
Anyway,
It's more than this team deserved. So.
jeez.
Jim Irsay, sell your guitars, maybe sell the team.
Oh my God.
Jim,
I agree.
Bob Cooter, the
Bob
OC.
Cooter.
Shout out Bob Cooter.
Boots.
Yeah, front office, figure it out, man. I mean, I don't know what y'all are doing. Like, as you can see, like, no, these Colts fans aren't happy of mediocrity, and it's
Make
just been like this for the last
make players
dozen.
show up for meetings. Maybe
Do that.
that'd be
Maybe,
nice.
maybe treat your quarterbacks with care and not run them into the ground. Um, so yeah, we'll see. It'll be fun.
All right. Well, hey, appreciate y'all for joining. If you've made it this far to the video, leave a like, comment, subscribe. I've been your host, Davion. That's been the rest. This has been the post game. Peace.
Peace.